Good afternoon, everyone. Um, Welcome to the August 4th, 2020 Talk About It Tuesday live chat. Today, we're going to focus on how to design a pattern template using Google Sheets or Microsoft Word. Now, this is part one. Part two is going to be next Tuesday, and we're going to talk about how to design that same pattern template using Microsoft Publisher. Now, the reason I've broken it up into two pieces is, well, Google Sheets and Microsoft Word kind of work in the same manner. Microsoft Publisher is totally different. So Publisher is going to take us a little more time. But today we'll start with Google Sheets because, well, it's free. And I know that, sometimes learning how to use these programs is enough to drive you crazy. I know they drive me crazy. I've used Microsoft Word, I don't know, for 20 years, 30 years. So it's what I know best. But I also have a paid version, and not everybody can afford a Microsoft subscription. So without any further ado, I am going to share my screen and we will get to work. So what we have here, first of all, for anybody who doesn't really know me, I am a maker, which means I deal with patterns all the time. I happen to like making amigurumi, which means patterns should be, and some of them really are, very detailed. I also am a knitter. So I'm dealing with several different types of patterns. And based on being a maker, I'm going to kind of tell you what I would like to see for anybody who designs and publishes patterns. This is not the gospel. This is just my personal preference based on what I like to make and what I do. So here we are in Microsoft Word, in Google Sheets. And one of the first things that you want to do in Google Sheets is you want to come to this format menu, come to paragraph styles, and here you want to apply all the different fonts and colors. Okay, so designing your pattern is super important. Okay, you want to have a consistent brand. Okay, so look and feel. You want to have consistent fonts. You want to have consistent colors. Now, that may all sound kind of stupid, but when you present your pattern as your face to the world, you really want to make a good impression. So here we go. We're going to start doing some of our basic formatting. So this is my normal pattern text. Now, I happen to like open sans for whatever reason. Okay. But if you wanted to put it to Arial, you could certainly do that. And then you would come to format, paragraph styles, normal text, and then I believe it's update text to match. Yes, there it is. So now we have our normal text. Next, we want to think about our pattern name or our pattern title. So here we want something, maybe something fancy and big. I'm going to choose a font called calligraph, calligraffiti. And I want to make that, oh, a size 36. And I want to change the color. Now, every color has a hex code. Yeah, probably wondering what in the name of God am I talking to? So if you stop and think about when you design a web page and you're building your website and you want to have certain colors, or even when creating a logo, everything has a hex code, or every color has a hex code number. And you can find those hex codes using a tool like Adobe Color Wheel. And if you have a special color code, here you can come to this custom, you can click the plus sign, and then you can put that hex code number right here in this little blocks and hit OK. And then it will remember that. For right now, I'm just going to choose, this dark magenta. Okay. And I'm going to change this to title. Whoops. Did that backwards, didn't I? Like I said, learning new programs kind of drives me nuts too. We all get set in our ways and use what we're used to. So once you have that title, font, and size, and maybe I want to make this a little bigger. Maybe I want to make this 30. And no, I don't really like that either. Let's say I want to make it 36. And let's say I want to center it. Okay, so once I have that the way I want it, I want to come to Format, Paragraph Styles, Title, and then Update Title to match. Okay, so now I have that. Let's say I want, let's see. I want to make certain things into headings. Okay, so headings separate out different sections of your pattern. So let's say I want here's a section. Okay, this is my difficulty level, or the skill requires, or techniques used. I want to make that, again, I want to make it stand out. So I want to use that same calligraffiti, and I want to make that, say, 1614. And I want to make that a lovely lighter shade of magenta. And I want that to be my title 1. So I come to Format, Paragraphs and Styles, and here's heading 1, and I want to update the heading to match that. So as you can see, setting these things, excuse me, up makes a lot of sense. So next thing I have is my materials list. So once I have those things in place, I can just come up here to the styles and I can change it, and poof, there it is. So here's my next one. And I'm just going to change that to a heading 1. And then I'm going to change sizes. And I'm going to make that a heading 1. going to put in my finished size and measurements, and I'm going to make that a heading 1. And then we have our notes section, and I am going to make that a heading 1. And I'm just going to run down through this. And as you can see, I've got some other headings down lower. So I'm going to leave this here, and I'm just going to pop over. No questions or anything yet, so perfect. So now, what I was doing is, not only did I stop and think about the things that I like to see as a maker, but I also went to Craft Yarn Council, and I took a look at what they suggested that you put in and into a pattern. So somewhere here, I mean, obviously you want to have a front page. So let's start moving things around. Now, I hope most of you know about that lovely Control X to cut, and Control V to paste, which is what I'm doing right here. So on your front page, you want your biggest and best photo of the pattern, whether it's a single large image or 3 or 4 smaller ones. So here, I'm going to be honest, I'm just going to throw in any old picture. And, let's see. I'm just going to throw in this. So now we've got our pattern name. We've got a nice, big, sharp, crisp image of what our pattern is all about. And then you're going to put in your company name, copyright info. Okay, so that could be, either a month and a year, or it could be a day, month, and a year. And then put in a link to your website. And, you also want to stop in and think about entering a use statement. Okay, so that use statement tells me, the pattern purchaser or the pattern user, what you do or don't want me to do with this pattern. So, like, this pattern may be used for personal use only. Okay, meaning that, and then you may want to get a little more detailed. So, can I only make items for myself using your pattern? Can I make items to sell using your pattern? And if so, do you want or do you require a link back to your website giving you credit for the pattern design? So that's kind of a use statement. Okay. Then we come into the second page. You want to do a little brief introduction, what inspired you to create this pattern, an overview of the design, maybe a little summary of the construction. Like if it was knitting, is it created from the top down, or is it created from the bottom up in the case of a shawl? Anything like that. Then you have your difficulty level, your materials list, stitches used, sizes, finished measurements, any notes, gauge your tension. And then we get into the actual pattern itself. Now, I'll tell you, doing amigurumi, sometimes there are some sections, let's say, where you're getting ready to put in the eyes, okay? And you want to leave like 6 stitches in between the edges of each eye. Put a picture in there, okay? And with little arrows showing stitch 1, stitch 2, stitch 3, stitch 4, stitch 5, stitch 6. It's not always easy for us as makers to read between the lines what you as a designer mean. And I mean, that's true in life in general. So maybe you want to add some charts or some drawings or some photos in order to call out special sections or techniques used in your patterns. So, you could have so you could have a little thing, a little header that where you wanted to show eye placement. So go ahead and put in an image in there. And again, I'm just gonna grab some of these whacked out images that I have here on my machine. And you can resize that. So if you don't want it to be huge, you can resize it. Now, I'm going to confess I don't know how to do this in Google Sheet, in Google Sheets, but I know how to do it in Word. And that's how to have your text over next to the photo. So this is kind of how you can design things in Google Sheets. And when you're all set and you have all of that formatting in place, okay, come back to the format menu, come to paragraph styles, come to options. Oops, sorry, I got to get it off the picture. Format, paragraph styles, options, and you can save this as your default styles. Okay, and you can also rename this to, pattern template. And then you can open that template and you can write your new pattern. And everything that you have set up in here, minus the images, will all be right there. Oh, here it is. We want this, I believe, we want it to wrap the text and, okay, so, no. Yeah, sorry, I don't know how to do that one. So there you have your pattern template done in Google. Now, when you're all ready and you want to save that as a PDF, okay, come to your file menu, choose print, and your destination is save as a PDF. And now, not only do you have that written pattern in its final state, but you can also save it as a PDF right there, right here in just one fell smooth process. So there we have Google Sheets. Any questions? Sorry, I tend to stumble around Google Sheets because I have used Word for so long that Word is my absolute, I mean, it's just ingrained in my brain. So with Google Sheets, I have to stop and think about what the heck I'm doing. So next up, we're going to take that same document in Microsoft Word, and we're going to apply formatting. Now, I hope you can all see this. I can change the size of my Word document, but I really can't change the size of the Google Sheets. So Word works a little differently. Okay. When you come into Word, you want to choose design. You can set your colors up right here. Okay. Now, and you can customize your colors. So accent one would be like a heading one, and you could change all of these colors here. And you just play around with that until you're comfortable. Okay. Now you can set fonts. So click on fonts, hit customize fonts, and here, let's say I want to put this to Open Sans. And I can't believe I don't have this on this computer. I usually use my my laptop for this, so I apologize. But let's just say, oh, I wanted to use this. Oh, for headings, let's say I wanted to use Ink Draft, which is a standard Microsoft font. And I wanted to use this a body for all my body text. Okay. And for all points in consideration, I have a set in here that I use for Yoni Bookkeeper. Now, this is a whole heck of a lot simpler. So I want to come to my pattern name and grab this arrow, and you have all of your different elements. So here's my pattern name, and I want to assign that to title. Introduction. I want this to be heading 1. I want difficulty and skill levels required, techniques used. I want that to be heading 1 as well. So Word is works differently. Um, I tend to feel that Word is like more upfront. So all your planning is done upfront. Whereas with Google Sheets, I kind of feel that your planning is done after the fact. Um, and once you set those the design colors and fonts up, you can always choose them no matter what document you create. This way, you're really creating a very branded look and feel across anything that you create, whether it's a pattern, whether it's a chart or whatever, it's always right there. And then again, move things around. Pop in that image. Oops. Now here, let me just pop in a smaller image somewhere else. Okay, so let's come down here into the actual pattern and let's put in that eye placement. Now we're going to come in, we're going to put in a smaller image. So once you insert an image, Word comes up with an extra menu called Picture Format, and you can choose the how your text goes around your picture. So here we go. And if you don't necessarily like it afterwards, you can drag it and move it somewhere else. And there it is. So now you could have all kinds of different text right next to a picture. And again, you can automatically resize it here. Or you can come here to the size block. And let's say we wanted to make this 200%. So there we go. Now, this was a super tiny image. It was only 150 by 150. So when I blow it up, it looks a little weird. Let me get a bigger graphic and show you what I mean. Of course, I have to remember where excuse me, put my images. Well, let's just go get one from here. Okay, so here you got a really huge image. You can reduce it. So if you wanted to make this 30%, you could do that and it will automatically resize it. Your position would be here on the right, and then you could drag it down. And there you go. You've got this nice, clean, crisp, big image that has been reduced to a nice, clean, crisp little image. So when you're all done here, choose File, Print. In the printer, you want to use the Microsoft Print to PDF, and you can see what it's going to look like. And then you just print it, and when it goes to print, it will ask you where you want to save it. And I will stop sharing my screen. So what did you think? Now, of course, again, you know, this is me being a maker, kind of thinking about all the different patterns that I work with, whether it's a crochet amigurumi or whether it's a knitted pattern. Oh, and one other thing that I forgot to tell you, and actually forgot to show you. So let me come back and do a screen share. And, oops. Oh, sorry, no, here's Word. Hold on just a second. Application. Okay. So let's say that you wanted to add a chart. Okay. You can literally insert Microsoft Excel documents, and you can use Microsoft Excel to create a sheet of graph paper. Now, I don't happen to have one here. Do I? No, I don't happen to have a sheet of graph paper. Okay, hold on just a second. Let me go out and start Excel. And actually, let me just quit screen sharing Word and let me do a screen share with Excel. So in Excel, you start it up and you wanted to create a new blank workbook. But let's say you want graph paper. Oops. Need to spell it right, don't I? Okay, search online. Now I know I found graph paper. Here we go. And you want to create it. And this Excel worksheet actually gives you 3 different size things of graph paper. You've got little small blocks, you've got medium sized blocks, you have large sized blocks. So, you know, you could literally create a pattern chart in Excel. So I'm going to save this, and I'm going to save it in Google Drive. I'm going to call it graph paper. So once I have that graph paper Excel file, now I could come back to Word and I will screen share. And I can insert, add from file, and then I am going to insert from file. By default, it wants to search OneDrive, but hang on, just show more files. Sorry, I've got to go figure out this one. It expects everything to kind of live in OneDrive when you do this. Yeah, that's. But you could literally, as long as everything was in the same place, you could literally have everything, in and add graph paper to it. Sorry. Now I feel like a numbnuts. So that was today's Talk About It Tuesday. I hope you enjoyed this. Next week, we will talk about creating that same pattern template using Microsoft Publisher, which, again, as I said, that's a more sophisticated program, and where I could get through both Google Sheets and Word in one sitting today. It's going to take me that one sitting next week to just go through my Microsoft Publisher because it is a little more complex. So, everybody, I hope you have a great week, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks for joining. Bye.